Hello loves! Right, if you've clicked on this video it's because you want to know what the pros and cons are for selling on Etsy at the moment. And I have done a video on this last year, but Etsy has Etsy'd hard over the past 12 months. And some of the things that I now consider pros to the platform are different, and some of the things that I consider to be cons to the platform are certainly different. So let's get into it. Right, the first pro are the fees, or more specifically the costs of running an Etsy shop in comparison to running your own website or being on another platform. It's all going to cost, and at the moment Etsy, even after you've added up all of the miscellaneous fees together, while it can seem like a lot of money, it's still relatively cheap considering everything else. So while the fees get a bad rap on Etsy, for good reason, I think sometimes, providing you're pricing your products correctly and making sure that the fees are included in your price, they shouldn't be a problem. So my first pro to selling on Etsy is that it is relatively low cost and low risk if you are starting out selling your items online. Now, the second pro to Etsy is a very, very recent one. So in my last video, I actually mentioned this as a con. I said that Etsy were very confusing with regards to how they broke down fees. But very recently, they have made changes to how they present these figures to us, and they are breaking them down now with the intention of trying to be a bit more transparent and a bit more clear. And while there is always room for improvement, it's a lot better than it was. So this is going right in the pros section. I will be coming back to fees later on in this video, but I'm going to give Etsy credit for that. My third pro will be the website itself and how easy and clean and enjoyable it is to navigate. As a seller, I do find it very easy to use, but this is why it's important for you as sellers. Not only does it mean that it's easier for you to navigate, it means it's easier for your buyers to navigate and more enjoyable, and that is key. It seems like a very obvious thing to shout about, but it's a nice, clean website. And I have gone on some websites that drive me nuts to navigate, big ones. eBay. I don't like it. I don't like it. It's too cluttered and it's just... Let's move on. Pro number 4, buyers trust Etsy. And that is so important, because if you compare it to having your own website, you have to not only drive your own traffic to your website, people, or at least people who are brand new to you, are less confident about buying from a new person on a website. They don't know you, they don't know that you're going to fulfill their order, they don't know that you're not a scam artist. I mean, let's be honest, they are out there and it kind of ruins it for the rest of us. But they exist and we have to acknowledge that and realise that that is an extra hurdle for people to get over when buying from us directly on our own spaces. Whereas with Etsy, even if they've never bought from us before, the buyers have this safety net knowing that if anything goes wrong, Etsy got their back. Pro number 5, Etsy has a lot of traffic. It really, really does. It has a butt ton of traffic. I'm trying not to jump ahead, but my point is that Etsy is something of an ocean now. And when you have your shop, it can be very overwhelming trying to get everyone's attention. But I think if you think of it in terms of you don't need to get everyone's attention, you just need a fraction of the people that are on Etsy to buy. But my point is that if you're looking for somewhere that already has the traffic that you could tap into, Etsy's a great place for that, a great place for that. And this is one of the main reasons that I am still on Etsy 15 It's nearly 15 years since I set up my Etsy shop. If you're new here, hi, I'm Kim. I get distracted really easily, and there's always words that I can't say. I don't know why. Last year, digital downloads, which I've nailed. Today it's Etsy. Etsy! Oh, God, I've anchored on it. Right, let's just get back to the pros, shall we? But if this isn't putting you off, consider subscribing for more. So yes, the traffic is one of the big reasons that I am still on Etsy, and also the taxes. For me here in the UK, it's VAT, and depending on which country you're in, it will be your version of it. Here in the UK, I have to pay VAT on every little part of a fee. So the transaction fee, I pay VAT on that. Postage, I pay VAT on that. listing fees, so on and so on. And this is not an Etsy thing whatsoever. This is a UK government thing. Etsy collect up all of those fees like a little financial squirrel and squirrel them all up and give them to the UK government for me. Why is that a good thing? Because I don't have to worry about it. So thank you, Etsy, for doing that for me. It's also one of the main reasons I constantly deal with Etsy's nonsense, which I'm going to get to now because we're done with the pros. Okay, these are in no particular order, so I'm just going to rattle them off. Etsy offsite ads are still in there as a con, and this is despite the fact that it doesn't affect me personally, because you can opt out of these right up until the point that you make $10,000 or more a year. So most people know what the deal is with Etsy offsite ads, but if you don't, well, in a nutshell, it's when Etsy promote your items on other platforms, and then if you make a sale through them doing that, they take a fairly sizable fee from you, and that's on top of the other fees as well. My issue is not with that, it's that if you hit $10,000 a year, you are automatically opted in, and it doesn't matter if you make less than that the following year, you are opted in, standard, that's it, can't go back. You have no say. Now you might be sitting there and thinking, well, I'm new, or I'm gonna open my own shop soon, so it won't affect me. I don't make nearly that much yet. Etsy automatically opted everybody into this. If you set up your shop this year, or you already have one, just make sure that you opt out of those ads, unless you want to partake in them, in which case, by all means do. Just make sure that you have got the cost of the fees in your price. Otherwise, you're going to find it very difficult to make much of anything. The fees, incidentally, are 15% if you're under the 10K threshold and 12% if you're over. The way Etsy rolled this out was not great, and I would like to say that they learnt their lesson from that, but as you're going to find out, they did not. Moving on to con number 2, Star Seller Badge. Okay, a lot of you will know exactly what this is, and you'll know my opinions on it. Star Seller Badge is essentially something that they give to sellers as a way to show that some sellers are better than others, in that they respond to queries quickly, they send their items out tracked, they've got high feedback, yada, yada, yada. All good on paper, so bad in reality. The way they rolled it out, that was why it's here in the con section. It was essentially a kind of, this is a great thing, you should be thankful, we're doing it. And then it turned out that they weren't even adding things up properly. So people who were responding to things straight away within 24 hours were still not getting the badge. People who were sending things out tracked were still not getting the badge. The reason why people started getting worried about it was because they left it open to whether or not having the seller badge would help you in search or not, which would give you a disadvantage if you didn't have it. Now, at the time of filming, that's not an issue because they're not doing it. So the badge is less than useless and you don't have to worry about it. And that is why I've only put it in the con section for the way they rolled this out, which was very badly. And I hope they've learned some lessons from it. I really do. And I know I'm going to get flack for this, but I do kind of feel for Etsy because I can see what they were going for with this badge. And I think that it could have been a positive thing had they got it working from the get-go. And also if their launch campaign had felt more like they were doing it with the sellers as opposed to, this is what you're doing whether you like it or not. Etsy, please, when you're launching something out to your sellers, put the cattle prods down. Con number 3. Right, I mentioned in the pro section that Etsy has a lot of traffic, and it does. It also has a lot of sellers, and it's a very, very saturated platform. Not to scare anybody, anything is saturated. eBay is saturated, Amazon is saturated, the internet is saturated. So yes, that's a con for Etsy, but it shouldn't be the do-all and end-all for whether or not you're thinking about starting a shop. The challenge it gives to sellers is trying to be seen amongst all of the noise. But it's not impossible. It's just not as quick as putting an item up, shoving it on social media and hoping that you will make a sale. You have to work so much harder than that. Okay, and this is another new con for 2022. the amount of resellers and dropshippers now on Etsy. I could do a whole video on this all on its own. In fact, I kind of have. But for now, all I will say is that if you are hand making anything, you are going to be going toe to toe, head to head against mass produced stuff listed in the handmade category, which goes against Etsy policies. It's an issue, and it's one that you have to go into with your eyes open when you join Etsy. And then the last one, which again I'm hoping will be out of date and irrelevant very soon, but I'm sticking it in because currently Etsy's customer service or lack of. So I mentioned that with the Star Seller badge, one of the things that they encourage you to do is to respond to messages within 24 hours. And yet Etsy do not do the same. Oh, no. I believe that at the moment they say that they will get back to you within 48 hours. They don't. You're lucky if they get back to you at all. I do find it incredibly hypocritical that Etsy want us to respond to people within 24 hours because who needs weekends or breaks? But they themselves will not respond within 24 hours. Hell, they won't even respond within 48. Now, I should point out that those pros and cons are my opinion. You could speak to other people who have been on Etsy for as long as I have, longer, shorter, doesn't matter. They will probably have different ideas about what's good about selling on Etsy and what's bad. And it will probably change from niche to niche as well. But I do just want to balance it out by saying I also still love Etsy. And it's almost not a cool thing to say these days. It's almost the done thing to really dislike Etsy. And there are people who will jump on you no matter what you say. If you don't like Etsy, you'll have the pro Etsy people going, ah! And if you say you like Etsy, you'll have the anti-Etsy people going, ah! And people are just angry. But if you want my one biggest piece of advice, two biggest pieces of advice for Etsy is one, do it. Because as I mentioned right at the start of this video, it's low cost, low, investment. And I really do suggest trying it out for yourself and making up your own mind, because you might disagree with a lot of the things that I say, you might agree, and you still might thrive. So you will only know by trying. So please don't let what I've said to you in this video put you off. Remember, this is all just my opinion based on my own experience on Etsy, and I'm still there. 14, 15, however long it's been, I'm still there, so they can't be doing all bad. And what was the second piece of advice? Oh yes, a healthy sense of humour, because you will need it. And I think actually that can go for whichever platform you choose or whatever you do in any aspect of life. You gotta laugh or you'll cry, eh? I will see you next week. Bye-bye.